Hello guys, welcome to Cinema Ultimate. This is Red Notice Movie Recap. An action film released in 2021. This film is directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, and stars Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. Red Notice tells the story of an FBI member named John, who is forced to team up with the world's most wanted art thief, named Nolan Booth. They plan to catch the most dangerous art thief, the Bishop, where she has stolen 3 legendary Egyptian eggs. What's next? Here's Red Notice Movie Recap. At the beginning of the film, an ancient scene is shown where Mark Antony is married to Cleopatra. Then he gave Cleopatra 3 gilded egg-shaped artworks adorned with diamonds as their wedding gifts. However, in the end Mark Antony and Cleopatra died tragically. Meanwhile, the 3 golden eggs have been a mystery for centuries. However, people believe that the story was just a fairy tale, until 1979 farmers found 2 of the 3 eggs, and became the hunted by collectors of the world. The first egg is in the National Museum in Rome. Then the second egg has been auctioned several times, and is now in the hands of a wealthy collector, while the third egg is still unknown. The scene switches to the present, where there is a man who is duplicating the golden egg very well. Then the scene continues to a museum in the city of Rome, Italy. There was an FBI agent who had just arrived named John Hartley. He worked closely with an Interpol chief, Inspector Doss. They get information from someone named the Bishop that later a thief named Nolan Booth will come to a national museum in Rome. He is a specialist in stealing high-value rare and most wanted antiques in the world. And now Hartley with Inspector Doss and a few members of the police were in the museum. Then they met the head of the museum and asked him to immediately close access to and from the museum. However, the leader objected because the egg was safe. He doubted the credibility of them and the informant. It wasn't long before Hartley borrowed the heat sensor and noticed that the egg didn't look real because the 18-karat gold-plated egg was supposed to have radiant heat. To prove it, Hartley doused the egg with soda, and the result was that the egg faded immediately. It looks like the golden egg had been replaced with a fake egg. Inspector Doss immediately asked her subordinates to immediately block access to the room. Nolan, who was still inside for a moment, panicked and tried to escape from there. A chase ensues between Hartley and Nolan. Nolan was cornered. However, when Inspector Doss arrives, Nolan manages to trick Hartley. Hartley continued to chase him into the museum rooms. When Nolan is almost captured by Hartley, Nolan quickly flees from there. Hartley tries to chase him in a nearby sports car. However, Hartley was hit by another car, and this time it was Nolan who actually managed to escape. The next scene, 52 hours later, in Bali, sees Nolan rushing to his hideout in Bali, Indonesia. When he got there, he took out his stolen goods. However, Nolan was surprised by Hartley, who was already there. Nolan could not move at all when Inspector Doss and a group of Indonesian police came to surround him. There, Hartley shares some of the information obtained about who Nolan really is. Starting from his first theft when he was 8 years old, until his actions were carried out on his own because it was known that he did not like to work with teams. His father was a police officer in Switzerland, and his mother was a lecturer in America. Nolan is an only child. And he stole just for the fun factor. He always targets stolen goods at great risk to attract attention. In fact, he was also accidentally caught and then ran away again, in order to prove that he was the best. Because he was caught red-handed, he was immediately thrown into prison. Then Inspector Doss asked one of her subordinates to keep the golden egg in Hartley's car. Unknowingly, it turns out that her subordinate is the Bishop in disguise. She exchanged the golden egg and stole it. Then Hartley noticed the back door was still open, looking suspiciously. However, he ignored it as it seemed the golden egg was still in its place. Then he closed the back door of his car and left from there. 32 hours later, in Rome, Inspector Doss came to Hartley, and accused him of embezzling Cleopatra's real egg because it turned out to be a replica egg. Inspector Doss cracked the replica egg right in front of Hartley, and gave proof of a transfer of $8 million to a Swiss bank account in John Hartley's name. Hartley was immediately arrested and extradited to Russia. He was held in a secluded prison, far from the city. In prison, it turns out that Hartley actually gets the same cell room as Nolan. They became familiar with each other. Long story short, while eating, Nolan begins to influence Hartley. He said that they were both victims of the Bishop, where the Bishop uses Hartley to catch Nolan. Then she threw Hartley into prison. So, she was free to collect Cleopatra's 3 eggs, and then sell them to an Egyptian billionaire. It is known that the billionaire could pay her up to $300 million as a wedding gift for his daughter. The bishop already has the first egg, and he will be targeting the second egg that is in the hands of a weapons mafia called Sotto Voce. A rich and dangerous man, who every year he always throws a masquerade party at his home in Valencia. After the story ends, Nolan takes revenge on Hartley, who has caught him. He purposely told all the prisoners that Hartley was an FBI agent. Then a large prisoner approached Hartley and beat him several times. After that, they returned to the cell. But suddenly they were asked to meet someone. They rushed into a room, and it turned out to be Sarah Black, aka the Bishop. Before explaining her point, the Bishop first admitted that she was the one who stole Cleopatra's eggs while in Bali, and that she was also the one who threw Hartley into prison. Then she told them the purpose of her coming was to invite them to cooperate. So far, only Nolan knows the location of Cleopatra's third egg. She planned to invite them to cooperate in exchange for releasing them from custody and a 10% share of the sale of the 3 golden eggs. They had to agree. However, initially intending to work with the Bishop, Hartley instead invited Nolan to work together to escape from prison. Then proceeded the Bishop's plan to steal the second egg from the Sotto Voce, and then took the Bishop to prison. That way, Hartley will again restore his good name. Meanwhile, Nolan will return to being the #1 thief in the world. Hearing this, Nolan agreed. Moments later, Nolan began to talk about his life with his father. As a child, he had been accused of stealing his father's favorite watch, when in fact Nolan never did. From then on, his father regarded Nolan as a liar, and never reprimanded him at all. Until one day Nolan saw his father again wearing the watch on his desk. Without an apology, at least, his father pretended as if nothing had happened. And finally Nolan never rebuked his father until his death. That was the beginning of his disappointment with his father. The next day, they were ready to run the action. They blew up the washing machine using cleaning liquid and beat several guards. Then Nolan uses one of the guards' card, which he apparently stole when Hartley was beaten by another prisoner. They also ran towards the outside of the prison. And when he reached the stone wall, Nolan picked up the little rock he had tucked away. Then they walked to the side of the prison wall towards the helicopter, which was the only way to escape the prison. Hartley tried to slow down the guards chasing them. Meanwhile, Nolan ran towards the helicopter, which happened to stop nearby. Hartley beats several of the prison guards, and manages to shoot through the door chains blocking the guards. Then he rushes to the helicopter. Suddenly a warden took the bazooka and shot him. Luckily, Hartley survived and got into the helicopter. When the situation was safe, they rushed away from there. But the warden fired back at the bazooka. Hartley moved quickly and was finally able to dodge it. Then they immediately left the place in their stolen helicopter. On the other hand, it looks like the Bishop is holding an analyst agent hostage. She uses his computer not to be tracked by Inspector Doss. The Bishop informs Inspector Doss that Hartley and Nolan have escaped from prison. And next they will definitely steal the second egg in the Sotto Voce house. After telling her, she rushed out. On the other hand, Hartley and Nolan get help from an old friend of Nolan's. He used a private jet to help them get to Valencia. Nolan explained to Hartley that the guards at the Voce house would operate every 45 seconds, and that it was their chance to move into the room. Equipped with 87 CCTV without the slightest blind spot, so he will hack into the camera system. Nolan has also prepared a device that can imitate a person's face and voice because the egg holder is made of titanium, which cannot be detonated. Therefore, they needed Voce's face and voice in order for them to enter the room. Hartley is assigned to steal Voce's cell phone because they need a code sent to it. Meanwhile, Nolan will take Voce's fingerprints. They are ready to work together. Arriving at Voce's house, they join Voce's annual party. Hartley disguises himself as a guest, and Nolan disguises himself as a servant. Turns out the Bishop was there first. Hartley, annoyed that he had been framed, deliberately approached her. He wanted to catch her immediately, so he could clear his name, and return to being an FBI agent. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, Hartley invites the Bishop to dance with him. The Bishop asks Hartley for info on the location of the third egg from Nolan. Hartley says Nolan is still keeping it a secret. Voce, who saw the Bishop dancing with Hartley, then approached her to ask to dance with him. Hartley, who saw the opportunity, then approached Voce, and then stole his cell phone. It turns out that there is also an Inspector Doss who is monitoring their movements, and plans to immediately arrest them. Then when Voce gives a speech, Hartley and Nolan jump straight into Voce's secret room. When the guard was off guard, Nolan immediately hijacked the CCTV of this room. Then they waited for the change of guard shift. When the guards had passed through the door, they immediately moved to the door of the Voce antique storage room. They try to unlock the login with their sophisticated tools, and enter the code from the Voce cell phone they had stolen. Upon entering the room, their movements were finally noticed by the guards who looked at the CCTV. They rushed to activate the alarm there. Just as Hartley and Nolan were about to enter the room, suddenly Inspector Doss came from behind. He asks Hartley to detain Nolan, so he is not arrested. However, Hartley outwitted her by handcuffing Nolan, and they managed to get into the storage room and immediately shut the door, leaving Inspector Doss outside. Once inside the room, they headed straight for where the second golden egg was. But the bishop was there too. She had already entered through another door, which was easier. Then the bishop immediately beat them, and a fight broke out between them. Hartley desperately wants to catch the bishop, while Nolan wants to get the golden egg. In the midst of their fight, suddenly Voce entered the room. It turns out that the bishop is working with Voce, and informs him that Nolan and Hartley have come to steal the golden egg. Eventually they were caught by Voce. The next day they awoke, and were held captive in an underground room of the Colosseum field. The bishop and Voce forced Nolan to reveal the location of Cleopatra's third egg. If Nolan didn't answer, then Hartley's life was at stake. Nolan was forced to tell them where the third egg was. He said that the egg was still in Egypt where Cleopatra was buried. After knowing the location of the golden egg, the bishop and Voce toasted. Unexpectedly, Bishop poisons Voce's drink so that he immediately faints. Then Bishop went to get Voce's second egg, and hurried away from that place to get the third egg. Not long after, Voce also woke up from his stupor. He grabs a gun and tries to shoot Hartley and Nolan. However, instead of being shot, Hartley was able to release his handcuffs, and immediately beat up Voce. Hartley planned to leave Nolan there, but he broke it when he heard Nolan's words saying that he had given the bishop false information about the whereabouts of the third egg. Finally he let Nolan go, and then they both left the place. When they tried to escape, it turned out that they instead came out into the Bulls Colosseum field. They tried to get back in, but Voce shot him from below. Finally they ran fast from the bull and got out of there. Then they went on the train to the location of the third egg. Nolan and Hartley agreed to keep helping each other. Nolan will try to help Hartley catch the bishop, and clear his name. Hartley will also try to help Nolan become the world's #1 art thief. Then Nolan begins to tell the story of Cleopatra's third egg to Hartley, that at the end of World War II the art lover, Hitler's assistant, Rudolf, was found to have had the third egg. He went from Germany to Argentina with a cargo of 100 tons. And for 70 years, detectives and treasure hunters have been trying to find Hitler's missing bunker. Among the detectives, it turned out that Nolan's father was one of them. One day, while he is in his father's office, Nolan accidentally finds his father's watch, which once caused a dispute with his father. Nolan slammed the watch down in disappointment with his father. Unexpectedly, it turned out that the watch belonged to Rudolf, and in it was a clue where he kept the third egg. That's the clue Nolan used. Long story short, Nolan and Hartley arrive in Argentina. In a remote forest, the location of the alleged third egg is located. After 3 days, Hartley became annoyed that they had not found the location. He slammed Nolan's map and compass to the ground. But suddenly they heard a metallic sound right under their feet. After excavating, it turned out to be the bunker they were looking for. They try to get into the bunker. After successfully entering, Nolan uses his father's watch as a secret key to open the secret bunker. Inside are hundreds of years old antiques, even classic cars that can be sold for millions of rupiah. They also managed to find Cleopatra's third egg. However, Bishop appeared before them again and planned to take the third egg. Apparently she didn't actually go to Egypt, but rather she purposely waited for Nolan and Hartley to escape from Voce's place, so she could follow them to the location of the third egg. Shortly after that, a gunfight broke out between them. It turned out that there was also Inspector Doss, who had been following the bishop. A shootout ensues between them until Nolan, Hartley, and the bishop team up to defeat Doss's group of inspectors. They used an antique car there to escape. Meanwhile, Inspector Doss and her troops are trying to chase them. Even though they almost lost the golden egg, they still managed to get away from Inspector Doss and his troops. Until finally they plunged from a height into the river water. Meanwhile, Inspector Doss can no longer pursue them. After the fight ended, they went straight out of the river. Nolan manages to get the third egg and rushes away from there. But he was worried about Hartley. He gave up and tried to find him. Suddenly Hartley came out of the river and looked fine. Not long after, the bishop also came out of the river. Nolan immediately mocked the bishop and told her that he had won and was superior to her, The moment Nolan had been waiting for a long time. Nolan didn't mind even if he only had one egg, because for him money wasn't everything. Winning from the bishop was the best for him. What's more, his best friend Hartley will soon catch her. However, when Hartley was about to handcuff her, they suddenly kissed. Nolan realized that they were lovers. It turned out that Hartley had been tricking him by pretending to be an FBI agent. All of this they had planned from the start. In the end, Nolan was forced to give the third egg to the bishop. He was handcuffed alone in the middle of the forest. Then they went and left him there. The next scene in Cairo, Egypt, looks like Cleopatra's 3 eggs have arrived there. And ready to be used as a child wedding gift from a billionaire. The bishop has also been paid in full. However, when the egg was opened, the billionaire's daughter was actually attracted by the surprise of Ed Sheeran, who was the accompaniment of the wedding song. Then suddenly this marriage changed after the arrival of Inspector Doss with his troops. The billionaire and several others were arrested by the authorities. After the incident, Hartley and the bishop enjoy their victory on a luxury yacht. Unexpectedly, Nolan was suddenly there. Then he told them how he got out of the forest. He said that he was found by Inspector Doss. Then he escaped when he was arrested and will be taken to prison. As a result of this incident, Nolan was annoyed that they had leaked the location where they kept the money from the sale of 3 Cleopatra eggs. Even Hartley's account had been frozen. They no longer have money in the account. Nolan thought that now they had broken even. Then Nolan offered them a job with a bigger target. If they refuse, then Nolan lets them get caught by Inspector Doss, who knows their location. They reluctantly agreed. The film ends with Inspector Doss having just found their luxury yacht, which turns out to be empty. After the incident, Inspector Doss stamped them red notice. That meant, they would be given a warrant of the highest order to be hunted down and captured as the most wanted people in the world. And the movie is over. Okay guys. If you like our channel, support us with subscribe and turn on the bell, like, comment, and share. So that you don't miss our next video and our channel can grow even more. See you guys.